And welcome back to Under Center with Kirk Cousins, Mark Rosen alongside. And Kirk, I'm going to let you do the introductions here because this is someone you're quite familiar with and a very, very special guest and wonderful opportunity to talk with him.
That's right. Thanks, Mark. My dad is here joining us. Kind of a special thing. I've never done this before, having my dad in on an interview quite like this. So, Dad, welcome to the show.
That's a little scary for you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, a little scary. He knows more about me than most people. But my dad is Don Cousins, and you're 62.
Almost 63.
Almost 63.
But we're not going to celebrate it in just a few weeks. We're
But
going to let it just go by.
You feel young, and we're glad you're able to join us. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's a privilege for me to be here.
Outstanding. Well, my dad, Don here, grew up in the Chicago area. So he grew up a Bear fan, which I grew up a Bear fan in the Chicago area. Obviously, our allegiances have significantly changed since then.
Blood is thicker than water.
Blood is a lot thicker than water. But that being said, growing up in the Midwest and being around the NFC North, what were your early memories of the Minnesota Vikings? What do you remember of your years growing up?
Well, the first memory was it's really cold where they play. That was the first memory.
At the Met.
Wasn't Bud Grant like wearing short sleeve shirts during the
games? He wouldn't allow gloves on the sidelines. That was his big thing.
Yeah,
no heaters or no gloves, Don.
I couldn't have played for him.
Really? No, I just remember the snow piled on the sideline and seeing the players' breath and all that and say, oh my goodness, who would want to play there? Those guys are nuts. I remember George Foreman, and as a Bears fan, please, somebody tackle him. Fran Tarkington, stop running around, stand still. So I have a lot of memories of Bears-Packers Bears-Packers games and Bears-Vikings games.
But you got to watch sweetness. You got to watch Walter Payton in his prime. That was sweet.
That's true. And if we had just had a consistently good quarterback through those years, just think how good he would have been.
You had a bunch of them there.
Yeah.
So what's unique is I actually grew up my very first years playing flag football. My dad, I'm in 4th and 5th grade. My very first years playing organized football had just been recess up until that point. And my dad is the head coach of our flag football team. The assistant coach of our flag football team is a guy named Mike Singletary.
No way.
His son, Matt, was our age and lived in our town. And Brittany Payton, Walter's daughter, actually went to our middle school as well, so they lived down the street from us as well. But Mike was his assistant coach, and my dad said, Mike, how is this going to look if I'm the head coach and you're the assistant? He said, no, I don't want to get involved in any detail. I just want to be able to coach the kids and leave it at that. So he was the assistant, worked for my dad, and we won the league both years, so we had a good time. You got any memories from that?
Oh, we had a great time doing it, although Mike still had the eyes.
I was going to say, he's an intimidating figure.
4th and 5th grade, he'd get in a position in the eyes, and here's these 4th and 5th grade boys looking at him. Tell them about the one game, Kirk. The league rule was we had to rotate quarterbacks every half.
Sure.
So everybody got to play every position.
Quarterback, right. Yep. Well, 1 week I was going to be gone. And so because I had coordinated the offense, Mike obviously handled the little defense that we had. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have Kirk quarterback that game because I'm not going to be there, and that way I at least know that I've got my best guy quarterbacking.
Sure.
So, Kirk, tell them what happened when the game began.
Well, my dad's out of town, and our plays were simple. The quarterback was number 1. The running back was number 2. If we wanted the quarterback to run to the right, it was 1 right. If we wanted the running back to go to the right, it was 2 right, and the quarterback would hand him the ball. And I explained that to Mike, and he said, it doesn't make sense to me. Just call your own plays. Call your own plays. For some reason, it just defense to offense didn't compute. So we had all these blitzes, and the defense was dominant. But offense, he said, Kirk, that's not my world. Call your own plays. So I did, and we found a way. We either tied the game or won the game. We survived it, and then thankfully my dad was back for the next one.
Yeah. Mike was not Mr. Organization.
Isn't it funny how you remember every detail of a game like that?
It is, because it was so, looking back, such insignificant football. Yeah. And yet when you're in it, it feels like the biggest thing ever. And that's something I wanted to ask you, Dad, because in youth sports so many times, looking back, it again, having played now at some serious levels, you look back at youth sports and you shrug your shoulders and you say, who cares? And yet at the time, it felt like the biggest games in the world. And I remember being so excited in school that I was playing a baseball game that night or a football game that weekend. So can you talk a little bit about, as a parent looking back now, what that balance was to push your kids, challenge them, encourage them into sports, make it a big deal, motivate them, and at the same time, make sure it wasn't everything and it wasn't consuming you or your children?
Well, I think back to my own father, who was a bricklayer by trade, and I would go out sometimes on side jobs when I was in high school and help him. And there'd be, as he's laying the brick, and he'd say, oh, this isn't quite right, and he'd want to take it down. I'd say, Dad, it's good enough. And he'd say, no. He said, if you're going to do something, do it right. And that was a value that got built into me. And I think with youth sports, while you say it was insignificant when you were in 4th and 5th grade, when you look back today, obviously it was insignificant. But at the time, if you're going to do it, how are you going to do it?
Yeah, do it with everything you got.
You're going to do it with everything you got. And I think one of the reasons why, as you grow older, you build a value in your life for doing things the right way is because you're asked to do things the right way when you're in 4th grade playing flag football.
Sure.
And it's just one of the benefits, frankly, of the athletic field in terms of life in general. It's a character-building arena. And you think of all the times that we left Little League games or flag football games, and as we were going out for a hamburger or ice cream afterwards, and I would always, not always, but often try and draw some life principle from what we had just experienced on the athletic field, because the athletic arena is a great place to teach the lessons of life. And one of those lessons is if you're going to do something, do it with all your heart. Do it right. And so while 4th grade flag football is insignificant, it's not. Right. In shaping you as a 9-year-old to put your whole heart into what you do.
Well, I'll say you guys did a great job of keeping me well-rounded. I played football, basketball, and baseball all the way through high school. And I also played tennis, organized tennis through our middle school team. Played a little bit of golf, took some golf lessons. And so I probably played 5 sports. And looking back, I wish I'd taken more golf lessons because I'm playing a lot in the off-season and struggling through it. But I appreciate the way you allow me to play a bunch of sports.
Well, I was going to ask you guys that because in this day and age, both of you are seeing it. There's such a specialization feel to sports that parents sometimes, and we're listening right now, my kid's going to play in this sport, and that is all they're going to do, and we feel that this is their road to wherever it might be. That's not necessarily a good thing, is it, Don?
No, we didn't do that. Our philosophy was play as many as you can for as long as you can. Mm-hmm. When he and his brother were playing travel soccer one time, they wanted them to make a year-round commitment. We said, we're not going to do that. We'll play it in the one winter season, if you will, indoor or spring, outdoor, but that's it. Because he plays football in the fall, he's got baseball in the spring and summer, and we're going to rotate around and play as many as you can for as long as you can.
And there's something to developing a skill, but there's also something to having general athleticism. And the reality is you could probably show up with being a well-rounded athlete, show up as a freshman or sophomore in high school and make the soccer team and play well. And you can develop those skills later. Now, there are the Tiger Woodses who only played golf from a very young age, and it worked out well for them. But I do think being more well-rounded is probably the better overall plan.
Yeah, there's not a long list of Tiger Woodses.
No. And well-rounded doesn't just mean sports. I mean, you were involved in other activities as well, which self-described. I mean, I hear that you were interested in singing. I don't know if this is a scene out of Glee from the TV show, but you were involved, right, Don? Was he good?
He was pretty good. Yeah, he was pretty good.
I was in a swing choir. It was a tryout. It was a varsity sport, if you will. I think I got a varsity letter. I literally got one for being in that swing choir. But
believe it or not, Coach Zimmer would really like this. On Wednesdays, the director of that little choir had an arrangement with whoever the coach was
of the sports season.
Sure.
Kirk would leave either basketball, football, or baseball halfway through the practice to go to
the swing choir
practice.
This is really out of the show Glee. This is kind of it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So the quarterback walked off the football field halfway through practice to go to the swing choir.
It was a unique arrangement, and our choir director at our school was a unique person. There were a third of the school was in choir, and his concerts were special. So he had a unique leadership gift to kind of rally the kids, but he certainly got me inspired.
I think we have an example, a recent example of
That's
Kirk
right.
Cousins. And the talent is there, and it's never too late for American Idol. Let's listen to Kirk Cousins here.
Let's go, don't wait. This night's almost over. Honest, let's make this night last forever, forever and ever. Let's make this last forever, forever and ever. Let's make this last forever.
That is awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we went down to
just in case the football thing doesn't work out.
Yeah, right. We went down to Nashville. I got a buddy who lives down there and has a recording studio, and because I do, they say all athletes want to be musicians. I'm no exception. So in the off season, I said, let's go down there and record a little bit. One of my old teammates is a drummer, so he drummed, and that was the track that we cut. And among many other songs we picked randomly, because we wanted my buddy who's a drummer to have something unique drumming that was fast, and we picked why not Blink-182 First Date? So
Sure.
there it was. That was us singing.
Yeah. Is music important to you? You like it as far
Yeah, that's a great question. It is important to me. I think it's a big part of life, and it's amazing how much music is tied to memory. When you hear a song, it takes you back to a special place, and that just adds to the meaning of the song to me. And so it does. It has a big impact on your life, and there really is a soundtrack to your life, and you can pick songs that tell the story of your journey.
Now, what's it like for you to watch your son now here with Minnesota, in person or on television when you're watching? Your hands get pretty sweaty still?
Well, I wear a heart rate monitor when I run. And when I am on the game days, I don't have to run because it's a 3-hour heart rate monitor accelerated experience. It's like running a marathon.
I bet it
from
is.
a heart rate standpoint. Yeah, it's stressful.
Yeah, I bet it is. It never should be for any, and never end for any parent. I know the camps that you've had here, Kirk, are real important to you.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun doing those. We held one here at St. Thomas University in St. Paul, which is an outstanding facility.
Oh, yeah.
The stadiums, the cafeteria, the dorms, it was outstanding, and we're excited to be able to do that again. And then we also do one in Michigan as well for middle school kids, and we really enjoyed meeting the kids that attended the camp here, especially in Minnesota. We just found the kids to be great people, and we really enjoyed working with them, and they seemed to really appreciate the camp. They thanked us, and we're very grateful that we put it on, and that meant so much to us. So I look forward to hopefully doing that for years to come.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we ask lots of questions of the media. You have to face them after games on Wednesdays. We ask all the same questions, but sometimes the best questions come from kids, and you know that, and we have a couple of examples of that.
Hi, I'm Joe Geyer, and I want to ask Kirk Cousins, what is his favorite parent?
That is wow.
Oh, that's an easy one for me to answer.
Well,
You better
say mom.
You better answer that.
Yeah, we're going to say mom.
Yeah.
And
Didn't
we'll call it
expect
good.
that one, did we?
See, what's funny is the kids. They ask some of these questions at our camp, and the first one that's most popular is, "Who do you like more, Thielen or Diggs?"
Oh, I'm sure.
And I look at these kids and I say, "You're going into 7th grade, and you're asking tougher questions than the Pioneer Press is. I mean, this
Sure.
is a pretty good deal." So these kids, they're tough.
They just raised the bar on that one,
Yeah.
though. I mean, that's
Oh, man.
that's the right
It
answer for
came out
that.
of nowhere at the end there. I had to play that one for you guys.
I think we have one more as well. Let's hear what is your.
Hey, Kirk Cousins. I'm Matthew Knutson. I'm from Fergus Falls, and I'm wondering, what was your favorite football team before you were drafted?
Oh, good question. So I grew up in Chicago, so naturally I was a Bear fan. But I found when we moved to Michigan, the Bears weren't on TV that much. The Lions were on TV, and so I didn't get to watch them as often. And they went to the Super Bowl my senior year of high school. And while I followed them, it wasn't the same kind of fandom as it was when I was younger. And then in college at Michigan State, I found myself, because I had teammates who went on to play in the NFL, I found myself rooting for the players less than the teams themselves. And then, as you meet the coaches from the different teams and you're going through that process of the draft, you really I had no allegiance to the Bears at that point. You just somehow just kind of gradually over time just left me. And, aside from going to Soldier Field to play them and bringing back memories of going to a few games as a kid, that's about all that's left there. And so I would say the Bears if I had to pick one, but, it went away.
When you have to decompress after a Sunday game and with your own family, but do you reach out to your dad once in a while? Do you talk, or do you talk football, or kind of keep it away from football, or is it a combination of the two?
Yeah, I think it's when I'm driving home from work many days, I got about a 11-minute commute home, so I'll call him as I'm pulling out of the parking lot here and just touch base and let him know how the day went, and that's everything from how the family's doing to how my body's feeling to how practice was and how conversations with coaches are going. And, I think it's fun for him to follow. And obviously as a dad, whether it's football or accounting, he would be there on the other end of the call to talk through it. And obviously just such a great resource to have through so many years. And honestly, I don't think that I would be in the NFL if I didn't have those conversations with my dad through the years, little ones, every day. I think they combine to kind of build up who you are and the way you operate, the way you work, the way you think, and all those things end up making you into the player and person that you become.
And Don, as a father of a 33-year-old son, you never get tired of seeing when your cell phone comes up and you see the name of your son
true.
calling you, and understanding that your role you're still dad.
That's true.
When it's all said and done,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
what do you
yeah.
just sort of, are you a sounding board? Do you like to listen? Do you like to offer advice, or where are you at with all that?
I do a lot of listening, and then I try and offer some perspective.
Yeah.
As I think sometimes the most important thing in life is to have an accurate perspective on whatever's happening.
Sure.
And there's so many voices that are coming into his world that are not necessarily accurate or fair in the perspective that they're bringing. And that doesn't mean it's always positive.
Yeah.
There are times when criticism or whatever is accurate, and there's a perspective that you have to have toward that as well. So I guess I try to offer perspective.
It is. Family is everything for that. isn't
Well,
it?
and one thing I've learned through playing football is the importance of family. Football, it's like it took football to teach me that, because you realize when you struggle and you get booed and people are piling on, and even sometimes teammates, are frustrated with you. The one thing you do have is family. They're going to be there, maybe to a fault, but they're going to be there. And so after games, after a tough stretch of a season, after a tough season, to know that my wife, my kids, my siblings, my parents are there, and their perspective of me, their love for me isn't changing. What a great comfort. And so, football taught me that, but it really is true, period. No matter what you're going through in life, if you never play football, you got your family, and that means a great deal to me.
Don, how often do you get back to see the games and see your grandkids?
Well, we get back to about 6 or 7, probably half the games
Yeah.
a year. Try and make all the odd ones, if you will, Sunday night, Monday night,
Sure.
Thursday night, because I pastor a church in Orlando.
Right,
so
right.
Sunday
mornings
morning-
get.
Sunday morning.
Do you
is-
cut your
yeah,
sermons short
yeah.
on Sunday mornings?
I don't necessarily cut them short, but I do leave immediately afterwards.
It's a short commute,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Well, it's a pleasure having you in here today.
Thank you so
It's
much.
great to meet you, and Kirk, I know it means the world to you to have your dad around and your family, so we thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep, he
Thank
was here
you.
watching practice today, so
Yeah.
glad you're here, Dad. Thanks for coming on the show and joining us.
It is always fun to be at practice and watch.